In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to simply store data persistently with Flutter. What we're going to build today is a simple counter app where we press on this plus button, and as you can see, counter gets increased. And then usually when you close the Flutter app, normally it wouldn't save this, but with the package we're going to use, when we reopen up the app, it loads the saved counter value. Let's get started. So the package we're going to use is called Shared Preferences. Currently it's the version 2.0.13. All you have to do is, of course, copy this, go to your pubspec.yaml file, and then under your dependencies, just paste it in here and run a pub-get. So I just built a very simple Flutter app where we have in the center a text which says counter, colon, and then the variable counter. It is initially initialized with 0. And then we have the floating action button at the bottom right. When you press on it, add pressed is called, and it simply sets the state by increasing the counter and then saving the counter persistently. When the app starts, we also call this init function, where we load the counter first. Define the shared preferences variable as such. You can give, of course, this variable any name you want, for example, also persistent storage. This is gonna be late since we have to get the instance and do this asynchronously, and we can't do this from here. So normally you would write await shared preferences dot gets instance, but as you can see, this has to be done in a asynchronous function. So let's have a look at the load counter. So here we're basically just doing what I just did above, but we defined the function to be asynchronously. That's why we can use the keyword await, then just get the instance of shared preferences, and then all we do is saving into our counter the saved counter value. This is in this case the prefs dot get int, since it is an integer. Then you use a unique key. In this case it's simply counter. This could be any string you want, and since this can be null, we could either define counter be null, or we could just say with question mark to say if this expression is null, then we simply assign the value 0 to the counter. And to save the counter, once we've increased the counter, all we have to do is just say prefs dot set int and then the key again, and then the value, in this case our variable counter. And in this case, if you press the plus button here, then it will increase the counter. When we close the app and reopen it, remember we're calling load counter in our init function. That's why we now have the correct counter value. You can, of course, not only save and load integers, but also other variable types. Let's have a look at them. As we've seen, we can set integers. We can also set bools. The same thing here with a key, and then the boolean value. We can set a double with the key again, and then the double value. We can set strings with the key again, and then the string. And we can also use string lists, so list of strings, where we use again the key and then the string list. And to load these values, as you can see here, we say counter equals prefs dot get int and then the key. As you can see here, we defined that it can be null, the integer, so we could also remove this question mark and then say question mark 1, for example, if we want the default value to be 1. Same goes with boolean, so get bool and then the key. Also with double, so get double and then the key. Then for getting strings, again, just using the key. And also the same with the string list. In this case, if you don't want it to be nullable or null, then all you can do, question mark, and then just say an empty list of strings. If for some reason you don't want to have a value saved persistently anymore, you could just use the remove function from the save preferences, which is simply prefs dot remove and then the key. If you wanted to save another list, but you don't want to save strings, but rather, for example, integers, this is not directly supported with shared preferences, but you can circumvent it by converting the list of integers to a list of strings, then saving it in the shared preferences. And when you want to load it again, then you load first the list of strings and then convert this list of strings to a list of integers. So in this case, for example, I've defined a list of integers with some simple integers. Then all I do is define a list of strings. I called it savable values, since we can only save this, not the values. And then we simply use the map function, and then it simply iterates over the values and then returns a string instead of the integer. And then we use this map, we convert this map to a list so that we can save it into a list of strings. Then we simply can set string list with our key again, and then use our custom list of strings. And to fetch it again, we can define a list of strings and load the string list with the key again here. And in case this doesn't exist or it's null, then we simply assign an empty list to our saved list, and then we convert this list of strings to a list of integers again by simply saying save list dot map and then converting each string within the list to an integer, and then we convert this map to a list, and this is of course then in the end the list of integers, which is then called original values in this case. You could also use this very similar with doubles, so list double, and then just change here also the list to double, and instead of int.parse you want to use double.parse. Of course this can also be used for booleans, or of course if you have custom objects, a list of custom objects, you could also convert it to a map and save this map as a string, for example, and then saving this string with prefs.setString, and then later on you would say getString and then convert this string to your custom object again. I hope this video helps you. Please leave a like, and if you want to comment on something, feel free to do that. Also, if you want to have another tutorial on another Flutter topic, you can also comment that, and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you for watching.